Hey everybody, hope everybody is doing well. So I like to get a lot of ideas and sources from people who come from a variety of different angles. And it's important that we get the truth from various sources of information and individuals, regardless of whether you may have a slight disagreement with them or not. Now, if you're new to my channel, please subscribe, please share. Welcome aboard. Thank you for tuning in. And this is an article that I just got from while I was scrolling down on Facebook. It's called The Grayzone. And what this article basically mentions is that new court files exposes Sheldon Adelson's security team and U.S. spy operation against Julian Assange. Folks, I just have to tell you something, that one of the largest concerns I've had living here is that it's so dirty out here. Whether it is just the politics, the corruption, and everything. And I've done a lot to expose Murren. I've done a lot to expose Reid, the Culinary Union. But I'm pretty certain that, I could be wrong, that Sheldon Adelson is a very large part of what's really wrong with our state. And these handful of people and special interest groups basically decide who our elected officials are going to be and what laws are certainly going to pass. Now, in case if you haven't noticed, that Adelson was among the largest donors to Laxalt, Sandoval, Heller, a lot of these other people. So if you think that it's usually just one side that's really the better side, I think you are mistaken. Now, yes, you can argue that conservatives have their strengths, progressives have their strengths. Sure, there can be some differences, but in the broad scheme, there is no major difference. Now, many people, you guys are thinking that, oh my gosh, Nevada is going to turn into a progressive state, that it's just going to turn into all this socialism and all that. It's hard for me to see that. Why? Because again, if we were a true progressive state, people like Sheldon Adelson would be paying higher taxes and they would be giving into higher regulations to protect their workers. That's what a lot of progressives want to do, right? They'd be talking about the income inequality. But a lot of these politicians like Rosen, Masto, Reid, Horsford, who's experiencing a huge scandal, believe it or not, they're not talking about the income inequality. And when there are candidates who are running about that, they rarely win. And I just spoke to a Democrat candidate recently who actually is running against Horsford in the primary. And she's aware of the income inequality, but the problem is she's not getting mass donors from people like Adelson. So bottom line is, I just find it really disgusting that we have these ultra wealthy casino tycoons that are basically using their wealth and their power to obviously have a huge impact in the global society, in basically how everything works around the world, what kind of policy we're going to have. And I can just tell you this, that even though that his hotels, the Venetian, the Palazzo, is about to open pretty soon, I would probably suggest, if these allegations are true, not to support his hotels. And I certainly have not had a good experience the last time I was there. Now, a lot of you who are pretty critical of Sheldon Adelson, this makes you think that, well, Israel is the problem, it's the Zionist establishment, and I've heard some pretty good claims about it, but I've also heard a lot of good claims that it's the Vatican, it's the Jesuits that really have the power. And they argue that it's the CIA that is heavily run by the Jesuits. Now, I'm not 100% sure. These are just claims that I've heard. It's good to be aware about what's going on. And speaking about the spying of Julian Assange, I can tell you this, that I don't know him too well. I certainly wouldn't be surprised if he's controlled opposition. Who knows? And speaking about what's going on with the CIA, this is probably one of the reasons why I'm still not so comfortable with the current administration, despite the fact that there has been progress made on immigration and trade. So let's take a look at this article right here. As you can see here, an exclusive investigation by the Grayzone reveals new details on the critical role Sheldon Adelson Sands played on the apparent CIA spying operation targeting Julian Assange, and exposes the Sands security staff who helped coordinate the malicious campaign. It's from this individual, Max Blumenthal. Let's take a look. Let's scroll down. As the co-founder of a small security consulting firm called US Global, and by the way, security in these hotels and casinos can be a pain in the ass. I'll share you about my experience in a future video in the coming months. David Morales spent years slogging through the minor leagues of the private mercenary world. A former Spanish Special Forces officer, Morales yearned to be a next Eric Prince, the Blackwater founder who leveraged his army for hire into high-level political connections across the globe. But by 2016, he has secured just one of the significant contracts to guard the children of the Ecuador's then president, Rafael Correa, and his country embassy in the UK. Now, it just makes you think, why would Sheldon Adelson get involved? He's running a casino, for heaven's sakes. Well, a lot of people argue he's the one who's trying to attack Iran, my parents' country. The London embassy contract proved especially valuable to Morales. However, inside the diplomatic compound, his men guarded the Wikileaks founder Julian Assange, a top target of the US government who had been living in the building since Korea granted asylum in 2012. It was not long before Morales realized that he had a big league opportunity in its hands. In 2016, Morales rushed off alone to a security fair in Las Vegas, hoping to rustle up lucrative new gigs by touting his role as guardian of Assange. Days later, he returned to his company's headquarters in Jerez de Frontera, Spain, with exciting news. From now on, we are going to be playing in the first division. So you can see here there's Morales on the left and the security fair. He announced to his employees, when a co-owner of UC Global asked what Morales meant, he responded that he had turned to the dark side in apparent reference to a U.S. intelligence services. The Americans will find us contracts all over the world, he assured his business partner. Morales just signed onto the guard the Queen Murray, the $70 million yacht belonging to one of the most high-profile tycoons in Vegas, the ultra-Zionist billionaire and Republican mega-donor Sheldon Adelson. Given that Sheldon Adelson had a substantial security team to guard him and his family at all times, the contract between UC Global and Adelson's Las Vegas Sands was clearly for a devious espionage campaign apparently overseen by the CIA. Unfortunately for Morales, the Spanish security consultant charged with the leading spying operations, what happened in Vegas did not stay there. Following Assange imprisonment, several disgruntled former employees eventually approached Assange's legal team to inform them about the misconduct and arguably illegal activity that they participated in at UC Global. One former business partner said that they came forward after realizing that David Morales decided to sell all the information to the enemy, the US, and a criminal complaint was submitted in Spanish court, and a secret operation that resulted in the arrest of Morales was sent into motion by the judge. Morales was charged by a high Spanish court in October of 2019, violating the privacy of Assange and abusing the publisher's attorney's client privileges, as well as money laundering and bribery, as the documents revealed in court, which were primarily in the backups from the company's computers, is exposed to the disturbing reality of his activities, the dark side. Obtained by the media outlets including the Grayzone, the UC Global files detail an elaborate and apparently illegal U.S. surveillance in operation in which the security firm spied on Assange, his legal team, his American friends, U.S. journalists, and the American murder of Congress who had been allegedly dispatched to the Ecuadorian embassy by President Trump. Even the Ecuadorian diplomats who UC Global was hired to protect were targeted by the spy ring. The ongoing investigation detailed the black operations ranging from snooping on the Wikileaks founder's private conversation to fishing a diaper from an embassy trash can in order to determine if the feces inside belonged to his son. Ooh. According to the witness statements obtained by the Grayzone, weeks after Morales proposed breaking into the office of Assange-led counsel, the office was burglarized. The witnesses also detailed a proposal to kidnap or poison Assange. A police raid in the home of Morales netted 2 handguns with their serial numbers filed off, along with the stacks of cash. One source close to investigation told Grayzone that Ecuadorian official was robbed at gunpoint while carrying private information pertaining to a plan to secure diplomatic immunity for Assange. Throughout the black operations and campaign, U.S. intelligence appears to have worked through Adelson's Las Vegas Sands, a company that previously slurred as an alleged front for a CIA blackmail operation several years earlier. The operations formally began as Adelson's hand-picked presidential candidate Donald Trump entered the White House in January of 2017. In its coverage in the alleged relationship between the CIA, UC Global, Sands, and the New York Times claimed it was unclear that it was the Americans who were behind the bugging of the embassy, though he outlined for the American client in his company's emails. Morales insisted before a Spanish judge that the spying that he conducted in the embassy was performed entirely on the behalf of Ecuador's Senian security forces. He has even claimed to the CNN Espanol that he was merely seeking to motivate his employees when he boasted about playing in his first division after returning from his fateful trip to Las Vegas. The investigation will fully establish the U.S. government's role in guiding UC Global's espionage campaign, shedding a new light on the apparent relationship to CIA and Adelson Sands, and expose how UC Global deceived the Ecuadorian government in the behalf of the client Morales, referred to as the American Friends. Thanks to News Corp disclosures, the Grayzone is able to reveal the identity of security staff who was presumably liaised between Morales, Adelson's company, and U.S. intelligence. According to the court documents, the testimony by a former business associate and employees of Morales, it was Adelson's top bodyguard, an Israeli-American named Zohar Lahav, who personally recruited Morales and then managed the relationship between a Spanish security contractor and Sands on a routine basis. After their first meeting in Vegas, the two security professionals became close friends, visiting each other overseas and speaking frequently. During the spy operation, Lahav worked directly under Brian Nagel, the director of global security for Las Vegas Sands, a former associate director of the U.S. Secret Service and the cybersecurity expert. Nagel was officially commended by the CIA following successful collaborations with federal law enforcement intelligence agencies. At Sands, he seemed to be a deal middleman between the company and the U.S. national security state, as well as a potential guide for the complex surveillance task assigned to Morales. When Adelson's favorite candidate, Trump, moved into the Oval Office, the CIA came under control of Mike Pompeo, an Adelson ally who seemed to relish the opportunity to carry illegal acts, including spy on American citizens in the name of national security. Pompeo's first public speech as CIA director, hosted at DC-based Center for Strategic and International Studies think tank for April 13, 2007, was one of the most paranoid and resentful addresses delivered by an agency's chief. The former Republican congressman from Kansas opened his speech with his extended tirade against the Philip Aguis in the world, referring to the CIA whistleblower who handled over thousands of classified documents and leftist publishers that revealed shocking details of illegal regime change and assassination plots all over the world. See, the interventions being done about the US, you got to keep this in mind. Alluding to Agui's contemporary soulmates, Pompeo declared that one thing that they don't share with Agui is the need for the publisher. All they require is now a smartphone and internet access. In today's digital environment, they can disseminate stolen US secrets instantly around the world to terrorists, dictators, hackers, and anyone else seeking to do harm. The CIA director made no secret that the identity of his target. It is time to call out Wikileaks for what it really is, a non-state hostile intelligence service, often abetted by the state actors like Russia. He rumbled from the podium. And next, from several minutes, Pompeo ranted against Assange, branding him as a narcissistic, a fraud, a coward. The right-wing Republican even quoted the criticism of the Wikileaks publisher, The Intercepts by Sam Beidel. Next, Pompeo pledged a long-term campaign of the countermeasures against WikiLeaks. We have recognized that we can no longer allow Assange and his colleagues the latitude of free speech and values against us. To give him to the space to crush him with misappropriated secrets is a provision of what our great Constitution stands for. It ends now, he vowed. Though Pompeo said he recognized the CIA is legally prohibited from spying on people through electronic surveillance in the United States, he seemed to have put in motion an aggressive program to spy on not only Assange, but on his American friends, lawyers, virtually everyone in his immediate vicinity. Carried on by UC Global, the campaign entailed recording private conversations of U.S. targets, opening their phones, photographing personal information, and even stealing email passwords. The CIA apparent attack on Assange had been activated weeks later when WikiLeaks announced the publication of CIA Vault 7 files. It would have not been long before Adelson's security team began preparing space for Morales in Las Vegas. In February 2017, WikiLeaks announced a forthcoming release of the CIA files revealing the details of the agency's hacking and electronic surveillance tools. One such spying application called Marble allowed the agency spies to implement code obfuscated their identity in computers and had hacked. Other files contained evidence of programs that allowed hackers to break into the encrypted messaging applications like Signal and Telegram and turned Samsung smart TVs into listening devices. Wow. 2 weeks after the WikiLeaks initial announcement on February 28th, Morales was junketed from Spain to a hotel in Alexandria, Virginia, just a stone's throw from the CIA headquarters in Langley. Though the CIA Global had no publicly known contacts with any company in Virginia, court documents obtained by the Grayzone established that Morales sent encrypted emails from the Alexandria IP address and his paid bills from the local hotels for the next 8 days. From that point on, he traveled back and forth each and every month from Spain to DC area, New York, Chicago, or Las Vegas base of Adelson's operations. When in DC, Morales sent emails of static AP addresses and the Grand Hyatt Hotel just 4 blocks from the White House. The Instagram post from Morales' wife and his travel partner, Noela Pais, highlighted the frequency of his trips. So this article is pretty long, and I'm not going to get through all this. So let's go down here along the articles. You can see here Adelson's with the top bodyguard. This is right here. To whom it may concern, I've worked with David Morales, CEO of UC Global, for 3 years based on my experience in the Vice President Executive Protection for Las Vegas Sands Corporation. Working with UC Global and David Morales and UC work is in the highest caliber in my opinion. His loyalty and consistency has been proven to be a great service. Please feel to contact me if you have any further questions. Zohar Lahav. And you can see here the UC Global photo of Stefana's mobile phone. There you have it. UC Global spy footage and activist Randy Credico visiting Julian Assange in November 2017. Sabotaging Assange exit strategy, robbery and assassination plots. After a campaign of espionage, the Espionage Act persecution. And you can see here, after hearing began, according to Assange lawyer Martinez, a Flemish British barrister arrived and demanded permission to observe. She was representing Las Vegas Sand and Clear, indicating that Adelson was deeply concerned about the outcome of the proceedings. After having promoted by the CIA director to the Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo has reportedly laid out the groundwork to run for U.S. Senate in Kansas. The first step of Pompeo's fledgling campaigns, according to the raft of articles, was to outreach Sheldon Adelson and gouge interest in financing the Senate bid. Well, no surprise. By the end of 2019, following the exposure of Sand's relationship with U.S. Global, the former employees of Morales revealed a rumor that Adelson's bodyguard, Lohav, had been fired by Las Vegas Sands. When Morales was asked during an appearance before the Spanish court this February that whether the rumor was true, he confirmed it, saying that Lohav was terminated because of the mess he helped to create. And this was reached by the phone. Grayzone, May 12, Lahav immediately hung up when he was told he was speaking with the reporter. And this is Max Blumenthal. So, wow, what do you guys think? This is really, really interesting. I have to tell you, I don't trust a lot of these people. It's really, really crazy. It's really, really disgusting how these things are really, really operating. So, you let me know what you think. What's exactly going on? Do you agree with this article? Correct me if I'm wrong. And if you can, spread this information, because if Adelson is doing this, we have to do what we can to hold these folks, Adelson, Murren, Reid, Culinary Union, all these people, bring them to justice. Thank you guys so much. Please share, spread this video, and if you can, stay tuned.